closing today for that St. Augustine deal, and then I just locked up this contract. So like that's a
Heck
very
yeah.
day.
That's a great day. How much you make on the St. Augustine deal?
10 grand.
Heck yeah.
So,
Nice, dude.
respectable.
Yeah, I
5.
mean, dude, look, that's base hits. Those are, I mean, honestly, dude, right now it's tough to come across fat wholesale deals. We closed one today for a 30K spread, and that is 30K is probably the biggest deal we've done in the last at least 2 or 3 months. Like we've done a lot of 10, 15, 20s. So it's just part of the market. Like you'll see that you go through like phases of being able to just get massive deals when buyers are like super aggressive. And then when stuff like right now is going on, when buyers are a lot more conservative, you get your spread shrink a little bit. So dude, I remember, man, before the market shifted in 2022, like when interest rates more than doubled over the course of like a month and a half, bro, like a 40K, our average assignment fee was like 45K. Like we were regularly pulling like 50, 60, 70K assignments. It was nuts. Like
like buyers were just like so aggressive. Like a deal that would normally sell at like 150 was selling at like 170.
Mm-hmm. Dude, from like 2020, when I first started doing deals to like when the market really shifted in 2022, like there were times where we would lock up a deal. Like we'd get a signature back from a seller at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd get together the marketing because I was still doing dispo I was still doing dispo. I didn't have a dispo team. I'd put together the marketing and blast it out, bro. Within like 2 hours, we'd have like 4 or 5 offers.
That's nuts.
It was ridiculous. It's a totally different market now. I mean, you can still absolutely obviously get deals. We've done more deals now. We've done more deals now than we've really ever done. It's just you got to work a little bit harder for them. Unfortunately, you have
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're doing a lot more helping people I mean, dude, I'm so serious when I was saying like in 2021, 2022, before the market shifted, like there was so much activity that like we were locking up sellers like at their asking price and assigning it for like 20, 30 grand. It was crazy.
Good times.
Yeah, no kidding.
Back when I was in college, what was I doing?
Right. Dude, I got into it at like the perfect time, honestly. Like in the middle of COVID, that was like the best time probably to start wholesaling, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Because I was able to get in and do some damage and like learn the game before the market shifted. And so yeah, but the thing is, that's the cool part is like we'll get back to that. Like it goes in and out of stuff like that. So now we're learning those skills and building up that pipeline. So when the buyers market comes back and like buyers are super, super aggressive, like it's a feeding frenzy. It was crazy, bro. Like if we didn't have a deal sold within like 2 or 3 days, we were like, it's not a deal. Now it's like it takes like for a regular fix and flip, like Raphael, by the way, Nate, Raphael.
Nice
Raphael, we have a deal right now it's a solid deal. I mean, I think we sold it in like 3 or 4 days, but like something like that, a block flip in Pasco, we would have 4 or 5 offers all over asking within like a day or two. It was ridiculous, bro.
Yeah.
Yep. Were you wholesaling before the market shifted, Raphael?
Yeah. I started in like 2021.
Yeah, dude, it was definitely
amazing.
Dude, you had so many people that were succeeding because like daisy chaining was so easy because all you had to do was take a price and put it in front of somebody 5-10K higher. And they're like, yep, for sure.
The spreads were nuts. Spreads were nuts. And then especially if you started getting into like having hedge fund buyers, that's when you were gold. Yeah. I had a deal that it was a wholesaler brought it to me and he already had a great fee on it. And then I found a fund that was willing to pay us 40K on top.
Dude, yeah.
And I was like, bro, what are we doing here?
It was crazy. We sold a luxury fix and flip on St. Pete Beach. Like we closed like 2 or 3 weeks before the interest rates doubled, which was like perfect because I was like, dude, if we got that deal came through a month and a half later, 2 months later, like we're selling that for 500,000 less than we did because we locked it up for 1.13 and sold it for 1.33. So we made 200,000 off of it. But it's like, bro, if we would have got that lead, if that would have come in a month later after the market shifted, we're offering easily under $1 million on it and having to sell it under $1 million. So it's just crazy how it fluctuates just with buyer sentiment and stuff. And a lot of it is, I mean, a lot of it's influenced by interest rates, but a lot of it is also just things that are going on in the economy. I mean, we've had a wild last couple of months, bro. Like once in 100-year hurricanes, an election. Now we got, you know, World War III, all this sort of stuff. So buyers are definitely a little bit conservative right now. So deals are moving slower, and we have to focus on distress. But eventually you build those skills, you build the skill set of building up a pipeline and having the follow-up process that when the feeding frenzy, when that faucet gets turned back on, you're going to be in the best position to just clean up because you have all the leads and you have the ability to, like, it would be like, hey, if you haven't talked to a seller in 6 months, like, go comp that property again, because their asking price might work now. And it would be straight up, like, 6 months ago, they would want 150 and we think we had to sell it maybe around 140, 150. And then you look 6 months later at the comps and it's like, oh shit, we could lock this up for 150 and sell it for 170. Because now it's 350 rather than 315. So
crazy.
Yep. That's the cool thing about just staying in the market, though, is you build the skills and you stay in the market, and that allows you to clean up when things get good like that. They always say it's not timing the market, it's time in the market.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Well, cool, guys. Well, I wanted to tonight, I wanted to go over some comping because it seemed like that was kind of a highly requested thing, and I don't have any comping videos in the actual course, like, curriculum yet. So we'll start getting on that, and then I'm going to record these and add them into like a drive so that you guys can come reference them later. Because like I was saying on our call earlier, Raphael, like, comping is almost like learning a different language, where at the beginning it might seem confusing or really complex, but just the more exposure that you get to it, the more it makes sense. And I went from having to, you know, I would have to sit down and look at a property for an hour to even be able to come up with a guess. And now I can kind of, you know, you can do it a lot faster because it's just repetition, just like anything else.
Sweet.
So does anybody have any leads that they want me to start off comping? Otherwise, I got a couple in our CR I'm going to go through.
Yeah, I got one.
Sweet. Let's do it.
I'll put it in the chat.
Cool. Nate, no stealing leads.
Copy. Likewise.
Cool. All right. I comp on Zillow. I have comped on Zillow forever, and I don't plan to stop. Orlando uses the MLS, but I have always just comped on Zillow, and it's actually pretty easy. And Orlando and I's numbers are almost always the same. So what I do is I can only share one tab at a time. But what I do is I open up Zillow in 2 different tabs like this. So I have it here and then I have it here so that I can on one tab see like where exactly we are. And then on the other one, I go in and I draw like a border. So what I do is I'll go down and look at the border streets. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me start by, I want to go over the comping rules because I don't know if you guys looked at that in the drive yet, but I added some comping rules as like just things to keep in mind. Let me pull that up. Sources. Comping. Okay, cool.
Where is that one? In the Google Drive?
Yeah, if you go to the Google Drive, and then it should be in like lead follow-up and acquisitions, there's a whole folder for comping.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. And I have the comping rules, and I'm going to add these videos to it and everything too, so that you have like a whole bank of like comping stuff to look at. But these are just some like general rules of thumb that you want to keep in mind while you're doing your comps. Because the biggest problem that I see with wholesalers is they're not doing like apples to apples comps, right? They're doing apples to oranges. They're comping a 2-story house with a 1-story, 1925 build with a 1975 build, a property that's on a 3,000 square foot lot, and their best comp is, you know, on an acre or something like that. So these are just things to kind of keep in mind for the rules, and then like kind of adjustments. So obviously we want to stay in the same subdivision. we want to be plus or minus like 20% of square footage. And the reason for that is because if you compare like 1,000 square foot house with a 2,000 square foot house, and you say, well, this one sold for 250 a square foot, that's not going to compute if you take the 2,000 square foot house. Like they have to be, again, apples to apples or similar in size for you to be able to consider like, oh, the price per square footage should be around here. So if you're comping a 1,250 square foot house, I would probably try to keep my comps between like 1,000 and 1,500. Now, if I'll look at comps that are higher, like I don't always want to filter them out completely because sometimes I can kind of get an idea, but I don't want to take the price per square footage of a 1,700 square foot house and apply it to my 1,200 square foot house. So I wouldn't, I might look at it when I'm comping to get a general overall idea, but I would never like present that to a buyer as a, hey, because this house sold for 350 and that's $275 a square foot, you can sell yours for X amount at $275 a square foot. The buyer that wouldn't really compute. And another thing with comping is it's like, there's kind of science and kind of art to it. Like there's rules to keep in mind, but also it kind of like there's just an art to it to where there comes an understanding of like what, you know,
what you can bend.
Yeah, because these are all like recommendations. None of this is like actual super like nobody's going to like penalize you for breaking one of these rules, right? It's just your comps won't have as much weight to an appraiser, which is what the buyer is basically, that's ultimately what they're looking at. Well, how is the appraiser going to value this after I flip it? Because even if I think that it's worth this, but then I get a buyer for it, but the bank only says that it's worth this, then I'm dealing with an issue, right?
Yep.
So, yep. So you want to stay in the same subdivision. You want to go plus or minus about 20% of the square footage, obviously the same property types. You don't want to cross any major roads. What is a major road? Roads with traffic lights, multiple lanes, right? Ones that are dividing subdivisions or separating subdivisions. And then you want to make sure that it's like somewhat within the same lot size, right? If you're talking about a regular residential lot in the city, you want to stay within probably around 2,500 of lot size. If it's 5,000 square feet, you want to look at houses, or I'm sorry, if it's 7,500 square feet, you want to look at houses that are on 5,000 to 10,000 square foot lots. And if a comp is on a 15,000 square foot lot, then you have to assume, okay, some of this value is going to be for the extra land. Yep. And then adjustments, little ones. If you have a 3-2 and your best comp is a 4-2, I'd take off about 10,000. And this is considering, you know, around the average price point. If we're talking about $1 million houses, it's probably going to be a little bit bigger, but assuming your regular run of the mill fix and flip, around 10, 15K for a bedroom, 10, 15K for a bathroom, pool plus or minus 20, garage plus or minus 10, carport plus or minus 5. And again, these are all just kind of rules of thumb, general rules of thumb to keep in mind. Traffic and commercial, if your property is siding traffic like a main road or commercial, a school, a business, whatever it is, then if it's under 400K ARV, I'd probably take off about 10K-ish on average. Backing, same thing. And then if it's fronting, probably 25 at least, maybe even a little bit more. And then if you're talking over 400K, because you think about the buyer that's going to be buying a house that's over the median, right? They're not buying the only house. If you're under the median, your average buyer is buying the best property that they can afford in their price range. Whereas somebody that's over the median, they have somewhat of a choice because they're choosing to buy over the median. So they're going to be a little bit more picky versus somebody that, you know, if they're happy to live in any house, they're not going to be as picky about the property backing or siding traffic. Whereas over the 400K, you get a little bit more picky. So cool. All right, let me pull up Zillow and look at this first one here. Was this property flooded?
No.
No? Nice. All right, so what I like to do is first look at the bordering streets. So MLK, 16th, and 62nd. So first what I do is just draw a border around that and see how many comps that gives me. So let me go, where was this? Wait, Greater Penn was fine. Oh, okay. Yep. This is why I like to bring up two different ones so I can kind of orient here. Have the marker here so I can kind of zoom in and out and make sure I know where I'm at. So 54th. So then I'm going to just draw a border around this and see how many comps that gives me. Which it doesn't look like there's a ton of neighborhoods in this little area, so I don't know how many comps we're going to get, but let's see. Reset all the filters. Go to, I like to start with the last 6 months. I don't want to go further than 6 months because a lot of the time the market has changed so much that appraisers and buyers aren't going to look at anything past then. Let's see. So 6 months, and then I come back here and I look at, it's a 3-2, I'm guessing?
2-2.
Oh, it's a 2-2? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a 2-2 at 1,200 square feet. So let's filter out maybe this just so we can get an idea. And then year built 1958. So I'd maybe go 1938 and 1978 just to start. So that only gives us 2 comps. So that's not super great. Let's check these comps out though. And then I look at these, what I'll do is, oh, well, this one was actually flipped and put back on the market. If it's not, if it hasn't been like this after the sale, a lot of the Zillow pictures go away. So I copy this and just put it right into Google, and then I pull up the Realtor or Redfin listing because a lot of the time those still have pictures, so I can see what the inside of the house looks like. And yeah, see this one, obviously this looks like it was flipped because there's virtual staging and everything in the property. So this could be a good comp. Do we have a pool or anything?
No pool.
Okay, cool. All right, so that seems like it's probably a pretty decent comp. Okay, let's look at the other one here. So this was bought for 305 and now it's on the market for 500. Just got listed 22 days ago. Looks like it's got a good amount of action on it. Okay. But this one is a 3-2. What was the other one? Was that one also a 3-2? Is there the ability? Yeah, these are both 3-2s. Oh no, this one is a 2-2, but they made it a 3-2. Is there the ability to turn ours into a 3-2? I'm guessing with almost 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think so.
Yeah. So obviously the buyer here, that's what they did. Ooh, they have water. Ooh, they have a little bit of water in the back. So, okay. That's something to keep in mind. All right, let's look. So now that's what we have for, how do I back up? Okay. That's what we have here. Let's see if we can extend this just a little bit because I don't like that we only have a couple of comps. Let's look over here. No, there's nothing over here. All right, let's go to.
You have to. Might have to cross an okay.
Yeah, we're probably going to. Which I'm just going to keep in mind. Anything over here, like it's not as solid of a comp. Like that is something that buyers may. Now, can you absolutely not use a comp across MLK? Not necessarily. It's just, again, that's, you become a little bit less sure of the after repair value after you cross, but it does give us more comps. So let's check these out. Here's another 3-2, 1,300 square feet. $1,300. Okay, this one's got a pool, so I wouldn't compare this one. Oops, did I just stop sharing? Hold on.
Yep.
All right. So let's keep going. Here's what might be a cash comp for 200. Let's see that. What does the seller want?
250 or 250 to 260.
250 to 260. Okay.
To full rehab.
Okay. Okay, so there's no pictures on the Redfin here, so this is probably a cash comp. The thing is, though, usually this price, usually this price is going to be the wholesaler price, not the end buyer price. So
yep.
That could be potentially a pretty good deal because I'm thinking, actually, let's keep going before I put my foot in my mouth. 2-2, 2-1. Here's a 3-2. That was bought for, it looks like.
Just listed too.
Yeah. So this was bought 293 in June and was now just listed the other day for 520. Let's see if this has a pool or anything. Because otherwise, this could be a good comp too. We have now 2 houses that we've seen have sold in the high 200s or low 300s and are now flipped and on the market. So,
You know what's crazy? I've been researching and following up with this seller for a while.
okay.
And there's a flipper that bought a similar property in that area, and they listed their property for 450 and dropped it all the way to 400, and then they removed it off the market.
Wow.
Which I was like, wow, I thought 400 that would have flown like off the market.
Yeah. I wonder, have you talked to them?
Was that a hurricane thing? Like maybe they got damaged and had to take it off the market.
Oh, it
That
might be. I could pull up the property again, but I haven't talked to them since.
Let's check out this one. This is only a 2-1, but this shows it 365. I wanna know what the deal is with that. This is nice. And this sold 365. I mean, let me go back. Let me see. So we have 488 here. We have a 305 cash comp here. Over here, we have this sold for 293 and is now on the market for 520. Let's take a look at what's pending. So I like to first look at the sold. Oh, wait, let me go back here. I like to first start on what's sold in the last few months, and I like to go and look at what's actually on the market right now, because of course a flipper is going to think, okay, if I were to put my house on the market right now, what am I going to be competing with, right? So you have this at 500, which I think we already looked at this one. Yeah, they're on the water, so I don't think I'd put our ARV at quite 500. But I mean, I still think there's a 3-2 pending at 1400. Oh, does this have a pool? Yeah, this has got a pool. But I still feel like, I mean, down here's 385. I feel like we're looking pretty conservatively at like probably like a 360, 375 ARV at least.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking too.
Yeah, this one has been on the market for a while, so that's always not great. But this is a good area. I mean,
yeah,
I don't see how ARV couldn't be at least 350 on it. And you got a couple of solid comps that were flipped and now put back on the market. I would love to see one of them pending already, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at this one. This one's smaller than ours, and it's only a 2-2, but let's see.
We have the carport on ours.
There's a garage.
Yeah.
This house was disgusting.
Was it?
Okay. Yeah.
What's the situation with the seller?
Probate. Seller lives in Ohio. It's her sister's house. She was like a hoarder and had a bunch of stuff in there. I always get the cat lady hoarder houses, dude. It was horrible. But yeah. And then,
that's what Honeybee's a cat house too, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So with this one, they're just now finalizing probate. I've been following up with this lady forever. She had an investor that locked her up, or that had an agreement with her at 250 way back then, but now like trying to renegotiate, and she's gonna probably back out. But I told her that the market, because she called me back. She loves me. She called me back. She's like, "Hey, I really want to sell this to you guys. I want to give you guys another shot."
Okay.
So I told her that the market's gone significantly down since, when she was getting offers, in August. I was like, it's a completely different ballpark, but I will, I'll give her an offer.
I would use this comp as a negotiation comp right here for sure. I would send her and be like, "Hey, look, your neighbor on Highland sold for 200,000 cash. I'm thinking wholesale price on this is probably going to be somewhere around that 250 mark. I think if you could put this out to buyers around 250, maybe a little bit less, I think this would be,
Solid deal.
Yeah, I think you'd have some interest on it for sure."
Do you know Big Tucker Holdings LLC?
What did you say?
Go ahead, Raphael.
I was gonna say, do you know Big Tucker Holdings LLC? That's who bought that property on Highland.
Big Tucker Holdings? No, I don't.
I'll give them a call.
Yeah, the way that I'm thinking about it as a flipper, if I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this one and I'm saying this is the only flip that's been on the market or that's pending on the market. It has been on there for a long time, but this also doesn't look like, maybe it's not even a flip. Maybe it's just a well-maintained house, but like this is probably what I would consider to be the closest comp. So I'd probably want to list it a little bit lower than this and do a better job to then get it to be bid up.
Yeah, especially since it's a 4-2.
Yep. Yep. But all your other ones, I mean, this one's on water. This one has a pool.
Yep.
If you go to the sold, let's narrow it down to just 90 days and see. Yeah. So you have the 200. Let's see this one.
That one was like pretty as is as well.
Yeah, this looks like it's sold on the market, like to somebody that's going to live in it. But definitely still needs updating. I mean, it's
just dated.
Yeah, it's dated. Like you could live in it, but obviously they bought it at a deal. And I mean, they bought it at 325. So yeah, I mean, I think a pretty safe ARV is probably 375 if you do it well and there's nothing weird going on with the house.
Yep.
And I would probably, what's our square footage again? 1,262. Is there anything new on it or does it need everything?
It needs everything.
Okay, so you're probably looking at like 65, 70K in work.
Probably.
375 minus 70,000 minus, yeah. I think if you can put that out around 240 to 250, you'll have a good amount of interest on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd probably try to lock her up in like, I mean, I'd be using that 200 comp and be like, hey, look, how close do you think you can get to this? If I'm going to pay all the closing costs and I'm going to buy it completely as is, here's a comparable house in your neighborhood, same bed, bath, square footage. What do you think? If you can get it in the low 200s, I think you'd be golden.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm going to try to lock it up. Like I said, this lady freaking loves me. So
heck yeah.
The rapport is definitely there.
Dude, that's the biggest thing. I mean, a lot of the deals that we get, we don't get them because our offer knocks the pants off the sellers, right? They understand, hey, I need to sell this for less than I want, but I'm going to deal with the person that makes me feel the most valued, understood, and safe.
Yep, exactly. So I definitely think if we put a good offer in front of her, she'll go for it.
Yeah, and I think that is, I would love to have seen one of those houses pending a little bit higher so that I could give you like a solid, but if you don't have that, you kind of have to go based off like what you consider to be a conservative ARV. And I would consider 370, 375 a conservative ARV on there, which should put a conservative dispo price of 240 to 250.
Cool.
When you were going for your math, did you go $60 a square foot on that, Nick?
I usually do 55 unless it's like a bigger house. Or it's like really fucked up. Like if it's just your standard fix and flip, some flippers will argue with you. I remember when I posted my rehab estimator, I had some guy arguing with me like, nobody's going to buy a deal with that underwriting. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, bro. We sell multiple deals every month with this exact underwriting. So yeah, I usually do 55.
Okay.
5 a square foot. I mean, and I'll go, and that actually here, let me me share this again, going back to the drive, because in the comping section on that, I also have the MAO calculator.
And you guys do 15% profit usually for your buyers.
Yeah, it's usually we'll either do like 50% or 15% of ARV, which is kind of your average, or if you run it back to like really dial it in, what we do is we figure out kind of what wholesale price is going to be and then work backwards to figure out what the investor profit is going to be, because technically a lot of flippers, they want a 20% return on their purchase price plus rehab. That's what we found to be kind of average. But to kind of make that easy, because if you're going to do that, then you kind of have to figure out wholesale price without putting in the investor profit first, which kind of complicates the equation. Whereas if you just say, okay, on average about maybe 15% of ARV, because like if I look at this, let me see if this checks out. If we have an ARV of 300,000 and I run through this calculator and I say, okay, so minus 0.92, which takes off 8% for like closing costs, commissions, holding costs and all that sort of stuff. And then I minus, let's say it's a 1,200 square foot house and they want 50 and they need $55 a square foot. That's going to give about 65,000 in rehab. So 300,000 minus 8% minus, what did I just say? 60,000? 65,000. 300,000. What is 15% of that? 300,000. Yeah, that would be 45,000. So if you just take the 15% of the ARV, that gives you 45,000 for the investor profit. Or the other way to do it is 300,000 times 0.92 minus 65,000. So then you figure, okay, 200,000, if they buy it for 150 and they have to put 65,000 into it and they want to make 20% on that, that's 43,000, right? So if you paid a 10, that was 45 versus 43. It's pretty close, except the second way is harder to kind of come to that number. Whereas if you just take the ARV and then go 15% of that, that's roughly what a flipper will want to make. So if you have your 300K ARV and you take 15% of that and you have your 45K, so I'm going to go 300,000 times 0.92 minus 45,000 minus 65,000. Okay, I need to wholesale this at about 166, which means I need to go under that to make money. Or another faster way to do that, which it's not as exact, but to give you quick math, a regular fix and flip probably going to have to sell somewhere around 60% of ARV, which is 180, which potentially you could push up. That's a lot of the time going to be like more kind of your ceiling. If you just take the ARV times 0.6, that will kind of give you like, this is potentially like the maxed out number. That's where we've been selling the majority of our wholesale deals, is like 58 to like 62% of ARV, unless it's like either new roof, new IC, new mechanicals, to where it's just a cosmetic flip, or it's like in a really good area. But like your average, we're dispoing at 58 to 62% of ARV.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Nate, you got any leads for us?
Yeah, I got a stumper for you.
Perfect.
I'll put it in the chat.
Palm Creek and Inglewood. Let's take a look. What's the situation with this one?
Flooded out. They live in North Carolina. Wife is sick. He doesn't like Florida at all. He hasn't quite punched the time card of like any distress, but I mean, it needs a complete full rehab. I think he put a new roof on it. He has no insurance.
Is it a duplex?
Nope.
What is it? Because it says unit something. Is it a mobile home?
Oh no, I think It might have been. I saw something similar to this in Tampa. I think it might have been like the neighbor was, 1, 2, 3, and then the other neighbor was like 1, 2, 4, and then they sandwiched his property in there. It was a later build. I've seen that before, and they just slapped like a unit A in there.
Interesting, but it's its own freestanding property. He owns the land and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look. Reset all the filters. Go back here. So we have it's a 2-2, 1,080 square feet. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's filter out. I'll go to 1,500 just so we can see. And then 750. And let's look at the last 6 months. Right. Not much in the last 6 months.
Is Englewood Hillsborough?
No, it's like
County?
South Sarasota.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Inglewood's down here.
It's a hot minute away.
How'd you get this lead? Cold calling?
Yep.
You're pulling this down in Inglewood, or is this like another property?
No, pulling list in Inglewood.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a look at these. All right. Well, not 46,000. I'm guessing that's going to be either family transaction or something like that. So let's start looking at these. This looks nice. Probably not a flip, but a well-maintained house. Anything new on this, or does it need everything?
Has a new roof.
New roof. Okay.
Dock got swept away, but he was saying it's like grandfathered in, so you can still put one in there. But I don't really know if that has any implications on ARV or not. I mean, we're on the water,
Yeah.
How much water did it get?
2-3 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't been there. They haven't been there since. So like their refrigerator is like floated into different parts of the house.
Oh man.
Smells
Have-
rancid in there.
Have they done any remediation work or anything?
0.
Mm.
Oh, that's biohazard now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might need to be torn down if that's the case.
Yeah. I sent like a family friend in there. She's like 22. She was not psyched about it when she got in there.
All right, so here's another one. I mean, this looks like a pretty good comp. It even got flooded and everything. 1,020 square feet. It's on the market pending at 200,000. See how fast it went.
What's land value there?
I don't know. That's what I was going to go to next. But this one pending in 2 weeks. So, and a lot
What's
of
the agent on that one? All right.
Martin.
There's one that went on the market. It's like I don't know, 6 or 7 houses down. It's that one. That was a flipper. They bought it. I think they bought it for like less than 100. Flipped it, and then they were set to close. And 4 days before the closing is when the hurricane came,
That sucks.
and they didn't have insurance or anything. So they're just
Dude, that's brutal. That's why wholesaling is amazing, dude. I had during Hurricane Milton, I felt so bad for the flippers that I knew because I had 12 active deals, and I was like, dude, imagine if I was a flipper and I had 12 flips in Tampa Bay right now. Like I would be shitting myself. Whereas, I mean, with 12 wholesale deals, it's like I might miss a couple of assignments if some of these houses get destroyed, but like I'm not going to have to go deal with insurance and fix up a house and all that sort of stuff. So just another reason why I love wholesaling.
yeah.
It's better to control property a lot of the time than own it, at least in the short term.
I called this agent trying to see if like her investor would be open to buying something again. She said, "F no."
I was going to say, he's probably so scarred from this.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean so you have one on the market at 200 and you have one at 220. This one this just got listed, but it's got a lot of interest. So yeah, this one will probably sell pretty quick. I mean, so you have some pretty good as is comps right there. Obviously, if you're going to move it off market, you're going to probably have to be cheaper than that because this is obviously on market.
Mhm.
And this one at 220 is also,
Floated.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
that one's kind of I think that one's kind of an outlier too, because a lot of the stuff is still good. Like the new kitchen, like obviously the cabinets on the bottom got to go, but like the upper, like that's what that's what the agent was telling me. She was like, a lot of this, like the new stuff is good, like the roof and the shower. Like I don't know how, like for that side of stuff with like when it's flooded, like I don't know how much of that is like actually tangible.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they're gonna have to do new wiring. I'm sure the wiring obviously got destroyed, but yeah, I mean, plumbing, unless something weird happened to where they specifically had their plumbing destroyed or damaged, then yeah, you probably wouldn't have to do that.
But then again, if your sellers hasn't done remediation since then,
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, so their
Maybe
house,
it was like
Oxford.
20 grand for remediation like a week or two ago.
yeah, but like the longer it goes, like at some point the county is not even going to allow you to. They're just going to be like, yeah, you got to tear this down.
yeah, after a while, it becomes like a biohazard problem to where you have to have like a hazmat team come in there.
Really?
All that
Yeah.
stuff, yeah.
I made him an offer at 105. I wonder if that's super close to land value anyways.
Let's take a look. Let's see if there's any pieces of land for sale. Let's go. Well, actually, no, I'm already looking at land, so this would show up already.
Maybe just a property appraiser and see what it's on there.
Yeah, we can do that. Let's see if there's any new builds in the area. Nope, no new builds. Nothing sold either. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's take a look at tax records and see what they have as land value. Because I mean, yeah, if you can get it, if you have comps on the market for 200,000 pending. I mean, I know the other one's at 220 and it's probably a little bit more updated because it's got a new roof and everything. But I mean, if you can get out 100, that should be pretty safe. What county is this? Sarasota County?
Yeah, I don't think we're quite in Charlotte yet.
Yeah, that remediation thing is serious, man. I was talking to this builder and he was saying that he was looking at this property that they never did the remediation and he wanted to just tear it down and the county wanted him to do remediation, then tear it down.
That's great.
Because like even the trash is like toxic.
Yeah.
They're like,
yeah,
you gotta
literally,
take care of it.
It literally is biohazard material at that point.
Like, he lives at Pinehurst, bro.
Wait, this is Stone. Oh, you're on the water too. You got a little water too. I didn't even notice that at first, right? You're 475 Palm Creek.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about that comp, that one at the 220. The investors bought it at like right around 100. So that was like my cash comp that I used. They don't have as much water access. Like they got a little dinghy out back, but
okay.
It's just like canal access.
Yeah, people probably aren't too hot on canal access these days.
These are on the other side of Dearborn. These probably don't count too much. Yeah, people are a little scarred with the whole water access. But I mean, look, there's people that'll be buying here that.
Dude, if it's cheap enough, you'll get some out of state people that'll be like,
New Yorkers. Oh yeah,
exactly. I mean, dude, where I'm from, Rafael, are you from Florida or where are you from?
Yep.
You are from.
Florida.
So where Nate, Michigan?
Yeah, Grand Rapids was born.
Yeah, where we're from, I'm from Michigan as well. Where Nate and I are from, people spend their entire lives just praying and hoping that they can retire down here.
Yep.
So even though
Inglewood, like that's retirement county.
Yeah, dude, Gabe's mom, my acquisition manager's mom, her like dream is to retire in Inglewood.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So maybe we'll sell this to her. But
full circle.
Oh yeah, what were we doing? We were going to tax records. Okay, let's look at tax records. Land, I mean, 157 for land value, assessed 233. I mean, if you can get it at 100, I think you're safe. I feel like if you can put this out to buyers now, I mean, again, remember, like we saw on Butterfield, Inglewood is not a super, super hot flipping market. So you'd have to put it out probably a good amount cheaper than this one at 200 to like really get it moving. But I would say, well, maybe not a lot cheaper, but be like, hey, look, here's one up pending on the market that got flooded, and it's pending at 200, but it doesn't have water access. We've got a water backyard. We're asking 180, right? 175, something like that. See, especially if you could get it at 100, that allows you to, I mean, you can put it out at a nice discount and have room to go.
Yeah,
And maybe
I think his asking was close to like 300, and I was like,
oh, then, yeah, I'd tell him to kick rocks then if that's like,
well,
bro.
it sounds like I got a lot of room to come up on a follow up. Like, hey, you know,
I mean, he's not going to sell it.
You know, like,
yeah, I mean, dude,
up to like 120.
Yeah, I think, I mean, again, if this was in Tampa looking at these comps, I'd be like, dude, you have this pending at 200. Let's put ours out at 190. And I bet we have interest. But because it's Inglewood, there's obviously not as many buyers for something like that. So you have to get it moved quickly off market, you're going to have to put it quite a bit lower than this. But yes, if your anchor price was 100, 105, I'd come back and be like, hey, look, you know, I'm definitely not anywhere 300,000. I mean, you can go on the market. If I wanted to buy one, I could go on the market and buy one for 100K less than that right now. Why would I buy yours for 300,000? Or I could go get this one that was flipped completely, new roof, new AC. Well, you're probably gonna have to replace it. New roof, new plumbing, like all new countertops, everything. All I got to do is redo the flooring and some mechanical stuff, and I could buy that for 220. And by the way, it's larger than yours and a 3-bedroom. So why would I pay 300 for yours?
Yeah, he's definitely like come off that cliff of he's getting close to 300.
Right.
And when we
probably have to take off like 30, 40 grand for the remediation.
Yeah.
On top of your price.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you locked this up and wanted me to dispo it, knowing that the remediation still needed to be done, I'd probably be putting it out close to that assessed land value.
That 150.
Yeah, like the 150 to 160, just to see what the market says about that. So yeah, if your anchor was 105, you could come up, hey man, I was able to talk with my contractor and some partners. Like if I could come up to, 120, do you think that'd be enough to get it done?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense. For where I'm at in my business, do you even think it's worth marketing in Inglewood?
Probably not. I wouldn't focus my especially where you're at, like with the focus of getting as many leads and conversations in as possible. I want to fish where the most, if you're a fisherman, you want to fish where you're going to catch the fish that the restaurants are going to pay you for. Right. So like we lock up a deal, I mean, we locked up Butterfield and the numbers looked really good on that. Right. But then we put it out, and because there's just not a lot of activity there, it's harder to move a deal like that versus we put out a number like that in Tampa Bay, we're selling it quickly, right? So I like locking up deals where it's not going to be a challenge to find a buyer if I can lock up a deal at a good price, because it's hard enough to lock up a deal at a good price. You don't want to then have to bust your balls to go find somebody to buy it. Like if you get a property under contract correctly, like, not that it sells itself, but like you shouldn't have to be following up with buyers and saying, hey, do you want this? Did you get to run numbers on this? Like if my dispo manager is telling me that he's like got to check in with buyers, I know that we're overpriced, right? If he's got to be following up with buyers to ask for feedback, because if we have it priced right, he doesn't have to follow up. They're calling us, they're giving us offers. So yeah, in a market like Inglewood, it's going to be harder to have buyers jumping on your deals. So you just have to put them out for a lot cheaper.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So if you're looking to optimize, I would probably try to stay in more metro areas.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I was not driving out there either to take pictures.
Yeah.
Heck no. 4-hour round trip.
Yeah, you waste a whole day doing that.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
The other one I was going to ask about is our deal. Because I know you ran numbers for it, but then you came back and you're like, oh, as a rental it'd be this. Could you walk me through that decision making and like how you did that?
Yep. So here, I'll pull that up.
Again.
Nick, do you wholesale mobile homes also?
As long as they're on their own land. The thing is, that's what we always ask sellers if they have a mobile home, do you own the land or do you rent the land? Because if it's a mobile home that they rent the land and they just own the mobile home, then it's like you, instead of a title company, you go like through the DMV. It's a totally different.
Yeah, it's like a vehicle. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as they own the land, yeah, we can do it.
Cool. I just got a lead that came in. Mobile home.
Nice. Where
Plant
at?
City. Plant City.
Okay. Yeah, I've done some deals in Plant City. I don't know if I've ever done a mobile home in Plant City, but I've done plenty of deals out in Plant City.
It's on 2 acres.
I mean, yeah, if the number's right. I know buyers out there that'll buy that if the number's right. Makes sense. Cool. All right. Nate locked this one up today, actually. So I'll have my Discord team putting this one out tomorrow. All right.
Did you check that Google file I sent you with the pictures?
Yeah.
Okay, because all the pictures are the ones the seller sent me, and they're like, Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is though, and you have the video walkthrough in there, right?
Yeah. I
think that's enough to where, especially when the property's vacant, to where we can send buyers through there if we get a lockbox on it. If it was owner occupied and we only could show it one time and we had to do a group showing, I'd probably say, let's get some better pictures so that like we can get as many people together as possible. But because we can put a lockbox on there and send buyers through, I think that's good enough for them to get an idea to where we can say, hey, go ahead and check it out and give us an offer.
Perfect.
What's the situation with this one?
This one was pretty nonchalant. One of my VAs got her on the phone sometime last week, and her family just moved out to California, and she was hoping that her family would like live in this house and not move to California. So that's like why she kept it and like was renting it out and then stopped renting it out. And I think she might have had like some realtor or something like that, because she was super adamant on like, I don't want to work with a realtor. I want as is cash. And she was asking, I think she told my VA she wanted it like 170, 180. And I said like, hey, I'd be happy to go out there. I don't think I'm at that price, but if you have any wiggle room, I'd love to meet you out there. And then I actually posted it in the community. She was like, oh, my lawn guy can meet you out there. And then I tried calling her like an hour before and she never picked up. And then she called me and was like, oh, why didn't you come? And I was like, oh, well, usually if nobody picks up, it just means we don't have anything happening. And then she was like, oh, no, like I can make time for you Tuesday and meet me out there, and was much more motivated in person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I saw that and then kind of went back, Carlton's a 3-1, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little bit smaller than this one, but it's a 3-1. Well, first you have this property did sell for 155 and is now on the market for 270. That's not a very solid comp because it's not pending yet, but it did show, hey, look, this person was willing to pay 155 for this one, and then they flipped it. The main reason why I looked at it though was because if I go here and I see okay, here's a property for 1450, a 2-bed 1-bath. Here's a 1-bed for 1900. Here's a 3-bed for 2300. This is why when you first asked me about it, I thought it was like either a tear down or a full rehab, just because in 5 years, I have very rarely seen a house that was a 1925 frame property that actually like was in good shape. And I'll show Raphael these pictures so he can see what we're talking about, but this was the inside of it. So when you first sent it to me, I was like, oh dude, this is either going to need to be torn down or like full rehab. I'm thinking we probably got to sell this like in the low 100s, but because it's in the shape that it is in, now we still have to make sure that this isn't just total lipstick on a pig, right? There could be a ton of subflooring issues, all that sort of stuff. And that was why I said like, hey, look, it's going to depend on what the rehab actually really looks like. But if buyers can walk it and they can see this and they can say, look, I can maybe get this rent ready for 20,000 and rent it out for between 1,600 to 1,800, then they'd buy it from us probably around that 140 to 150, because then they would be, if you think about, they buy it for 140, let's say they buy it for 150, and they put, you know, they have 5,000 in closing costs and then 15, 20,000 just in little stuff to get it together, then they're still going to be under the, what we call the 1% rule, which is kind of a rule of thumb for landlord buyers. So they want to be, if a property will rent for $2,000, they want to buy it, or $2,000 a month, they want to buy it for 200,000 minus whatever it will cost to get the property to where it can rent for $2,000. So if this one can rent $1,600 a month, 16 to 1,800 bucks a month, let's call it 1,600 to be conservative, and he thinks I need to spend 15 to 20 to get into it, after closing costs I'm all in 25, you know, I could probably buy this for that 140 to 145 price range.
Awesome.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yes, sir. So that's when you have properties that are more like not full rehabs, and especially in an area like this, I don't know why I stopped sharing, but especially in an area, I mean, this isn't the greatest area by any means, but Clearwater is going to be, I mean, there's only so much real estate that's this close to the beach, right? So like, if somebody can buy a piece of real estate and just cash flow it for the next 10 years and then tear it down and sell the land when the Church of Scientology finally sells all of this and lets people actually build around Clearwater, then that's probably the play there. And that's probably going to be our buyer for it, as somebody that's, hey, I'll buy it for 145 and I'll put in 15 and rent it out for whatever, 17, 1,800.
Sweet.
Yep. And then the part that confused me was this stuff. There's a couple of really small comps here. And so I was thinking, I remember when I originally was like, oh, this might be a deal because of this one. If you look at the listing description on this, it's a duplex style single family home with separate meters and everything.
We're looking at different pages.
Yep, I forgot to share it. This one, because this was when we were on the phone and I was comping this live. This was the one that threw me off, where I was like, wait a minute, actually, you know, maybe this is, you know, you could flip it or whatever. But then I looked into it and saw this was a duplex style. So it's 2 separate meters and all of that.
Yeah.
And you had a couple of land comps that were small. So I was like, oh, dude, if this has to be torn down, we got to sell it for land value. We got to lock it up for 60 grand and sell it for 80. Right. But then once you send me the video and you're like, does this change anything? I'm like, oh yeah, actually it does. So
yeah, I was wondering that because you ran your numbers and I was like, man, he never really asked about the condition. I should probably send him this video.
I saw a 1925 frame home and just muscle memory, man. That's probably the nicest looking 1925 frame house I've ever seen.
Yeah. She's put money into it too. Like you can tell, like, although the paint scheme sucks, like they've somewhat recently repainted it. The AC, they put the AC in 5 years ago. Like she put money into it. I just think she just is so, like, she must have some realtor hurt or something like that. And she's just like, never again.
Yeah.
Will I deal with a realtor? It's like, okay, I wish you had like 8 of these in Tampa Bay, but
yeah, that's probably the case. I had a deal on Claire Drive right here, this property. We sold this one last year. This burnt down. And we originally locked it up. This just shows the difference in the market, bro. We had to deal with the probate and stuff. I originally had this locked up in 2022 for 110 and we sold it for 150. But then the market totally changed and the property just sat there on fire, or like burnt, after we were doing the probate and everything. And buyers ended up buying it for 80K as a tear down. Isn't that wild?
no,
It just shows the difference in the market, bro. We sell it for 150 a year later. We're selling it for 80K.
Yeah.
It's insane. But cool.
Awesome.
Well, did that help?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do more of that, because I think that's one of the biggest things. Like I was saying to you, Raphael, today on our call, like the 2 biggest things that make wholesalers successful is effective communication and comping skills. Like that, if you boil it down, that really is what wholesaling is. It's the ability to understand where you need to offer and where you need to sell, and then be able to communicate your message and assistance to the seller effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wasn't able to talk to the seller from Honeybee. She didn't answer the phone, so I'm gonna try to call her a little earlier tomorrow. And then the last time I spoke to her earlier today, I was already kind of like prepping her because I was asking. I've just been hammering about that roof. I was like, hey, if you don't show any receipts, like that's gonna severely affect our price. She was like, oh, just give me a little time. I just pulled this box of files from my daughter. Just let me look at it.
She doesn't have it.
She doesn't have it.
Yeah, we get that all the time, bro. Like,
No way.
I did it, but I can't find the paperwork. Yeah, you didn't do it.
Exactly. So like my IP ends on Thursday. So like tomorrow we're definitely getting that reduction.
Nice. Well, and I mean, if you think about it, if they have a permit from 2016 for a new roof, they bought a new roof again 6 years later, 7 years later.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I doubt it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we'll definitely get it reduced. She's super motivated.
Sweet.
Awesome, man.
The comping helps a ton. Like Nick knows, the majority of the deals that I've done, I have not sold myself. Like they've all been JVs. So like I think you said it in one of your videos, or you said it on the phone this week. You were like, well, the thing is you have to like turn around and like actively sell this. And like although it's like a no-brainer, but it's like, you know, how am I, like I have not probed my system to like actively think about, okay, how am I going to sell this versus like, oh, with pencils, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, it's a different ballgame now. I mean, the way that we're able to sell deals now is because I actually like built out a system for it. Like when we send out a deal, like tomorrow, Nate, we're going to have my virtual assistant, Mary, is going to be skip tracing every buyer like in the area that's bought a house cash in the last year, 2 years. They go through, they pull a list, they call that, they text that. Like it's a whole other thing. It used to be before the market changed in 2022, you could just put it into a Facebook group and have a whole bunch of offers, blast it out to a list, have a whole bunch of offers. Like we have I think we have like 1,500 buyers on our buyers list that we send our deals to. And like, we still have to go through the process of calling buyers in the area just because it's such a different ballgame now.
Yeah. Do you just get your buyers from like PropStream?
Yeah. So we pull from PropStream. We pull from, primarily PropStream, but then what we also have, James actually put me onto this along with Brent. Brent Daniels and James both suggested this. Yes. Investor Base. Yeah.
I just signed up for it this week.
Dude, my team loves Investor Base.
It's kind of sick. I really like it.
Yeah, I'll show. I'll pull this up so Nate can see it. But yeah, this is Investor Base, which. Yeah, my teams liked it a lot because what you can do is like, here's our active deals right now for Honeybee. You just put this in, boom. It shows you everybody that's bought in the area, shows you if they're a flipper or a landlord. Now, I don't know how accurate these are, but I mean, boom, you can see.
Oh, it gives you your phone number and everything. Holy cow.
I found the phone numbers weren't too accurate. I'm not going to lie.
Really? Because my dispo manager was like, dude, our contact rate is way better. Oh, I sold this property. That's funny. I wholesaled this one. My dispo manager said that he loved that. He said the numbers were way better. He was like, dude, our contact rate is like doubled since going on to investment.
Okay. What I really liked is the My Listings preview.
Is there anything?
This is basically so like they're going to be releasing it in the next like 2 weeks.
Okay, I was going to say I didn't know that this was even available yet.
Yeah, it's like basically like a deal sheet where you can send this link to buyers and it'll pop them onto this page where they can see the whole deal and even make an offer on it.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah, I like it. I like Investor Base. We've only been using it for a couple of weeks, but it definitely it's gotten good reviews from my team so far. So we're gonna keep using it.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome.
Yep. Sweet. Well, and you guys got any other questions or comments or concerns?
No, I'm good. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll keep doing these comping videos, and I'll just again keep loading to the database of videos that you guys have. So it's just continued repetition.
Sweet.
Sick.
Hell yeah.
Awesome, man.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate your time. I'll catch you guys next week. And in the meantime, if you need anything, always let me know.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Peace.
You too.